This episode of Angles is brought to you by Richmond Personal Injury Attorneys. Expect high-level communication, transparency, and cutting-edge technology to keep your case moving. Expect a legal team that's laser-focused and moves fast to get the results you deserve. When the unexpected happens, expect Richmond Vona. Learn more at richmondvona.com, 192 Seneca Street, Buffalo, New York. Welcome to Angles, the podcast where we dig into the stories behind impactful people and explore the sharp turns, daily decisions, and defining moments that shape how they got to where they are and how they keep moving forward. I'm John Richmond, and every week I sit down with guests who are building bold, meaningful lives and careers in Buffalo and beyond. If you enjoy these conversations, please hit follow, subscribe, drop a comment, or share the episode. It's a simple way to help us grow with the community and keep these stories coming. What do you do when life gives you news that changes everything not once, but twice? Today on Angles, we're talking with Alissa Vogelsang, a marketing leader, wife, and fighter who's been living with metastatic breast cancer for over a decade. From her first diagnosis at 29 to her continued strength and positivity today, Alissa's story is one of courage, grace, and relentless hope. She reminds us what it means to stay present, to advocate for yourself, and to keep finding beauty in every moment, even the hardest ones. Let's get into it. What's up?
Hi, John.
How are you, Alissa?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here.
I'm super pumped you're here. And, obviously we got to know each other. You know, you're a senior marketing manager, and we worked on a lot of awesome stuff together. And, of course, it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and you've been on this journey and in this battle with breast cancer for a long time now. And we figured, who's better? Nobody better to talk to about than you. And I guess maybe we could I was thinking kick it off with, maybe you could just talk to me a little bit about your journey with it.
Sure.
Take us back to maybe when you were first diagnosed, and we can kind of maybe just start there and work our way through the years.
Sure. So I was very first diagnosed, I was 29 years old, 2 weeks from turning 30. So the last thing on my mind whatsoever. I had felt a lump myself and kind of said to my regular GYN, I think this is something. They were like, you're so young. There wasn't a sense of urgency to go get it checked out, but they sent me, go get a mammogram. And when I did, right away, they were like, you have to come back tomorrow for a biopsy, and then said that it was cancer, which again were the last words that I expected to hear at 29 years old. So at that point, it was stage 2B, meaning it was still within my breast and within, I think, one lymph node, but they removed that during surgery.
Okay.
So I went through kind of and again, there's several types of breast cancer. There's not just one type, but when I was first diagnosed, I was ER positive, HER2 negative, which is one of the most common types.
Okay.
Meaning that the cancer feeds off of estrogen.
Okay.
So there's a pretty, I don't want to say standard because everybody's cancer is unique and different, but there's a pretty standard-ish approach when you have that kind of in the beginning, and it's first meet with a surgeon and decide what type of surgery to go through, and then from there, I was an automatic candidate for chemo at that time because of my age.
Right.
Put me into another high risk factor, and then radiation, and different people, depending on what they have, what their risk factors are, different degrees of that, obviously, and of course that's not covering everybody, but for that's kind of what the first approach is in the beginning, and then you get put on some type of systemic therapy, which you would continue for several years just to kind of help your risk for recurrence. So, excuse me.
Oh, you're fine. Were you in Buffalo when you were diagnosed?
No, in New York City.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah. So that kind of added a whole other level of complexity. You lived there. It's a very expensive city to live in.
Yeah.
My now husband and I were had only been dating for 6 months at the time. So our relationship was brand new.
Yeah.
I was living with a bunch of roommates.
Yep.
My parents would come in and all they wanted was for me to come to Buffalo and be taken care of there. And I kept saying to my mom, I was like, I know that would be easier, but if I come to Buffalo, I will be a patient on your couch.
Right.
I need to keep living my life here. I just turned 30 years old. I don't want to be defined by the cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So, very lucky to have amazing doctors and get through kind of that whole piece of the first part of treatment. Went on to be cancer-free, move on with taking the systemic therapy, and then it was about maybe 2 to 3 years after that. I was doing a lot of yoga at the time, and I had just come back from a yoga festival, and I had this sharp pain in my shoulder. I thought, I did one too many chaturangas. I better go just see an orthopedic in New York and just figure out what's up with this shoulder issue. Never at all thinking it was related to my breast cancer, from 3 years prior. And then they sent me for an MRI and immediately were like, we need to get in touch with your oncologist, because instead of seeing a tear or a break in any of the bones, what they saw were a bunch of cancer lesions in my shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, I became, the cancer had metastasized. So then I had metastatic breast cancer, which is important to know. So first of all, metastatic means it's left the original site.
Right.
So it was no longer in my breast. The most common place for it to go is your bones, your brain, your liver, and your lungs.
Okay.
But the other thing that's really important is, even though it takes up space in those other organs, so at this point it was in my bones, it's not bone cancer.
Okay.
It originated from the original breast cancer.
Sure.
So it's still treated with medicines that fight breast cancer.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So it's kind of tricky because a lot of the side effects are acting like those of, bone cancer, or if you have it in your lungs, lung cancer, but you don't treat it with that medicine because it's still breast cancer, just in those areas.
Right. Okay. So when you that's interesting. I think that's something too that, I don't think I've ever really thought about it like that. Metastasized, it's spread. It's still the same cancer, just now it's in different parts of your body. Mm-hmm. Taking you back to when you were in New York, you're 29 years old. You have no reason to believe anything's probably really wrong with you, or not, at least not that serious. Sure. It's got to be tough to kind of wrap your head around that when you're young, especially as a young person, right? You're in your 20s, you're living your life in New York. Walk me through that. That's got to be tough.
I think there was a lot of shock.
Yeah.
That honestly helped me get through it, because
you're also a very positive person, just in general.
Thank you. But I think just, you hear those words, you have cancer. No one ever imagines they're going to hear those words, even if, unfortunately, you have a family history.
Right.
You don't, it's just, there's nothing like hearing those words.
Yeah.
So you hear those words, and then you're just kind of tossed onto the wheel.
Right.
Just go, 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 go.
Yeah.
And, I met with a couple of different doctors. I ended up at Memorial Sloan Kettering just because it's one of the top cancer centers in the world. But everything kind of happened. It's now we want to talk to the surgeon. Now, also you're 29. Do you want to freeze your eggs because chemo could ruin your chance of ever, have reproductive issues.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't even
It's
know.
like, this is a lot to deal with right now.
I wasn't even thinking about that. And you've just said the words like cancer, fertility, and chemotherapy, like all
All
in the
once.
same time. Like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, that's a lot.
I'm like, I hadn't even really thought about any of those things yet. Or, obviously the cancer part. So I do think a bit of just being in shock and just like going and going and then like on to the next. And I had and like still do have such an amazing support system. And that's really kind of always been the thing that's helped me through and grounded me when I needed. And I think the longer too that I've had this and dealt with like different aspects of it, you realize too, like who's better at what things. It's almost like your little baseball team of friends. Like,
what's Brett really good at and not good at?
He has to come to any appointment where like they're gonna give us big news.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that has to be him, and it can't be anybody else.
Yeah, he's very cool, calm, collected.
Yes.
Brett's the producer of this show, by the way.
He's my husband.
Yeah.
Yes, he's the best one, like in that room. Or if I have to have surgery, like I want him to be the one to like send me off into surgery.
Yeah.
Because he's that like calming force. But I also think that's really cool. Like when you are fortunate enough to have different people in your life that care about you, that you can kind of think, oh, this person's really good at this, or this person's really good at this, and be able to like lean on them for different things and not always have to go to your partner or spouse or like your one best friend for everything. Because then they're going through it
Yeah,
too.
for sure. Was that because you're very like I imagine, like I know you are. You're like a very self-sufficient person. Like, was it hard for you at first, or is it hard at times to like to rely on people when maybe you're used to doing everything for yourself?
Yeah, that's something that's still hard for me. And like, as I'm sure we'll get into like what's going on most lately, is like as I've lost a lot of energy or just like can't quite do everything that I want to do. That remains something that's very difficult. Like it's not that I don't want to ask for help. I don't like feeling needy, and I know that that's not how the people perceive it, but it's how I feel when I ask. Like I just want to be able to say thank you for doing that, not I need you to do this.
Sure, that makes sense. When you were back in New York even like as you went through like the first rounds of treatment and then you find out that you're cancer free, I gotta imagine there's like some perspective changes both on life and like and how you're approaching things. I'd be interested to hear about that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so I think in the beginning, like honestly just having an amazing support system and also kind of being in the hamster wheel of what's next, and trying to continue to work full time, like as much. I mean, I don't think I worked full time, but I worked a lot through all the treatments, and then still like, I was 30 years old in New York. Like I wanted to do all the fun stuff with my friends, and we had a lot of stuff pre-booked. Like now thinking about it, I'm like, how did I do all that stuff while going through treatment? But I guess I was 30, not 40. So, so it's just so in it, and it just to have the good things to look forward to. Was able to be like, okay, well this Friday, I have chemo, but like next Friday we're going out to Fire Island for the weekend.
Yeah.
And there's like this free concert in Central Park, not thinking, well, I'd be too tired for that. It was more that was the thing that was going to get me through.
Right.
So I think I thought a lot more about like, what did I just go through? What does it mean to have cancer like after the fact versus
I get
while
it.
I was in it. It's kind of like that fight or flight mode, and then you finish, you're cancer free, and you're just like, wait, like now I'm really scared.
Right.
Like, why though?
Yeah, it's almost like, right, like a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
Like your brain being like, okay, like you said, we're fighting, and we're just gonna work our way through this, and you're not gonna like really think about. That's interesting perspective. Like you're just like not really thinking about it. Like I just have to do this.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people experience that. They'll go through the huge emotions of like ringing the bell,
Yeah.
or especially if it times up with, October, there's like so much emotion around that, with being able to be in some kind of celebration with their loved ones of like, I did this, I'm cancer free now, and then it hits them after. And I think that's very normal, and people don't realize that like that can happen, and it's okay if when you went through kind of all the scariness of the day to day, you didn't feel that, but then it's like, okay, you have kind of the mental capacity to actually deal with what you've been through.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think people too, like, sometimes feel bad about that. Like, wait a minute, now I'm okay. Why do I feel so scared? Or just, am I having a hard time? And I think that's very normal. And people should realize, like,
yeah, that is interesting. Do you like, especially when you come out as something like that, and obviously we're going to get to like what the battle you're in now, in between that time, like, or even now, I guess, like, do you find yourself maybe having appreciation for things that maybe you didn't before? Like maybe even like little things that have like almost like you wish like you would have been like that before. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, for sure. And it's happened, I would say, again, just because it was 2014 when I first was diagnosed. So it's been, I've had like different degrees of that where it's like completely changed my life. I mean, the job I was in when I was diagnosed, I realized like in the middle of chemo, I was like, I can't do this. If coming to this job is the off days of chemo, that's just as bad.
That's brutal. Yeah.
Like that's saying something. So it was kind of the incentive for me to go and get a job that I really, really loved. Other things just, I think it's greatly impacted my relationship with Brad, my husband, just because for so much of our relationship, like, unfortunately, cancer has been a part of it. We've tried to really minimize that so that, like, the most interesting thing about our relationship is definitely not cancer. But, it gives us perspective on just, like, travel or experiences, like, why would, if we're both able to, and like the timing works and we financially could do something, it was like, why would we wait on taking, this experience or trip or thing? And it's helped kind of with that piece for sure, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know if it's funny, but it's like, I hear from people now, it's usually not in the context of like, I went through a battle of cancer or whatever, like something really serious. It's more like, man, I wish that it's like people getting older, and if they didn't pay the attention to or put the value in experiences with friends and family members, and that could be, a trip to Italy, or as simple as like going to a Bison's game, like just like having that connection and doing that stuff and realizing like how fortunate we are to be able to do that, and how much value there is in that, especially as opposed to like material things.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, it seems like you figured that out a lot quicker, where for most people it takes a lot longer. Then there's like that sense of regret.
Yeah, and I think we can always look back and there'll be something.
Yeah, for sure. We get nitpick ourselves.
But,
yeah.
I try not to think like that either. It's like, my body's been through so much over the last decade. If we didn't do something, it was probably just like not the right time.
Yeah.
I prioritized, recovering
Sure.
or being at home. But yeah, if we could, then definitely that's been like a priority.
Yeah. We'll be right back after a word from our partners.
After an accident, life can be scary, stressful, tricky. You need Richmond Vona to help navigate the process, because getting a life-changing settlement can not only take time, it can take an emotional toll. The team at Richmond Vona provides high levels of support through all the ins and outs, so you get the settlement you need and the new beginning you deserve.
When the unexpected happens,
expect Richmond Vona.
Now back to the conversation. So you're in New York and you're living your life thinking that you beat this thing, and then all of a sudden you get the bad news that it's back, and I think you said it spread to your shoulder. They must have put you on some treatment then. Is that how kind of where you went next?
Yes, and I think, at that point I have metastatic breast cancer.
Yeah.
Which I think a lot of people don't realize means the same, like that's stage 4 breast cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And with metastatic breast cancer, you're on treatment for the rest of your life. Right now, there's no cure for it.
So like no matter what, for the rest of your life, you're going to be on some form of treatment.
Some form of treatment.
Yeah.
And that looks very different because there's a lot of different forms of breast cancer. So depending on what it is and kind of how aggressive it is, that looks very different. So when mine first metastasized, it was in my shoulder only, which, looking back now, I can say there are so many things that I'm very grateful for, which sound kind of crazy after learning stage 4 cancer. But it was in my shoulder only. I got very lucky with my first line of treatment, meaning the first thing that they prescribed in terms of chemotherapy was actually a pill, not like an IV chemo.
Right.
And it worked right away. And it worked for 6.5 years.
Wow.
Which was double like what the expectancy was. Like normally, I think people get about 3 years from it. So kind of felt like I was the poster child for Ibrance, which was this drug. It was going so well. Obviously now I can say I felt very lucky that was the case. During that, of course, first hearing that it was metastatic, I mean, that was devastating, of course. And it's interesting, but the whole first time, like after I heard the words, "you have cancer," I was really terrified, but I didn't immediately think, like, I'm gonna die, which is, I don't know, I guess it was optimistic or just so kind of in the jumping into what do we need to do, what's next, how do we get this thing. When they said it had metastasized was the first time it crossed my mind, like, oh, I could die.
Yeah.
Because, 98% of the deaths of breast cancer come from stage 4. Mm-hmm. So it's really rare to have, only an early stage and have that happen. It's when it then progresses and metastasizes that's why it's such a deadly cancer.
Yeah.
So, very, very lucky that the Ibrance worked so well, and it was a pill, so there was minimal side effects.
Right.
Great. Pretty much able to do as much in my life that I wanted, like little things, here and there that were different because of the cancer, but like overall, for the most part, I could work full time, like I could actually focus on my career. We made the decision right after COVID, so during that time that I was on the Ibrance and stable to move back home to Buffalo, so I felt very comfortable like relocating my care at that point to Roswell, which is also an absolutely outstanding cancer center that we're very, very lucky to have in our backyard here.
Yeah, we are.
it was kind of like, I have cancer, but like no one really knows I have cancer, and everything's going well. And then this past November, in just a routine, well, at this point, I get scans like pretty much, well, I was getting them every 3 to 4 months. Now I get them even more frequently than that.
I can imagine.
But, in a routine scan, it picked up and said that there were new tumors in my lungs and kind of the lymph node area around my lungs, which was the kind of first time I'd had new news since it had first metastasized.
And so through that process, it's, obviously you're back here, you ended up working with us. And are they able to figure out like how it's able to metastasize so quickly? Because you're going for these scans so frequently, and it's like you go for one and then you go back, pretty quickly for the next one, bam, there it is. I mean, is there enough research being put into this, or like?
Yeah, I think a lot of like why the cancer metastasizes, and they're still figuring that out.
Yeah.
In terms of how quickly too, I think that has a lot of different aspects of like the what's going on with the cancer. So the first thing we did when we found these new spots, my oncologist like ordered several tests, and I think that's really important to note is that we did this as well when it first metastasized, and it was in my bone. Like I had a biopsy done of where the cancer was in my shoulder, and then again I had a biopsy done in my lung, and at that point the cancer had changed. So there's several different types of breast cancer, and along someone's journey, or as they're going through this, it can change, and that's what makes it so tricky.
Yeah,
because the cancer can get smart and say it's almost like it was doing too well on that great drug, so it had to morph into something else to outsmart it. So at that point, we learned that now it was triple negative, which is a much more aggressive type of cancer. So that could be a big part of the reason why, like suddenly, the scan before had nothing, and there were more. And that also meant that the treatment looked a lot different. So for triple negative, for example, because it's such an aggressive type, like now I'm on IV chemotherapy or different, right now I'm on a combination of an immunotherapy and a chemotherapy together. We're kind of beyond the world of being able to just do pills.
Yeah.
Someday, maybe.
Yeah.
As the research comes out. But.
And I know you're treating at Roswell, and you just mentioned it, but you had such a great experience there. Out of curiosity, you made it. I think you said that it was a smooth transition from, say, like Sloan Kettering to Roswell. How does that work? Is that, maybe there's some women who listen to this or wonder about that, like if I want to go back home or I want to go over here for whatever reason, how does that transition work?
Sure. So that was really important to me because I loved my oncologist at Sloan Kettering, and change when you're going through something.
Yeah, I can imagine.
That's like as important as your health can be very scary. So I started the conversation with them and kind of just said, like, what would this even look like before I kind of let us make that decision that we were going to leave New York. I was like, I need to talk about this with my oncologist.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, husband. Like, the first conversation we have with me and my oncologist. But they were totally open to it. I mean, they do that a lot for people too. Like, people may live in another area where there's a great cancer center, but also want to go have like a second opinion and have like a doctor from Sloan Kettering or like Dana-Farber or some, MD Anderson like weigh in on their case too. So it's very common for them to kind of be a part of that. And I think, at least for me, like the nice thing was when I did, like everything was stable. Like it wasn't like I moved and then immediately found something. That would have been a bit more stressful. And my oncologist at Roswell, he's absolutely amazing, but he also, like, from time to time will check in and weigh in with my old oncologist too, which is nice. You've got like two smart people on the case versus just one.
I've heard people before, because as you know, like I've represented a lot of people with different types of cancer, and at times and this is just, I guess, how good people are. They're like, I want to get a second opinion, but I don't want to offend my current doctor. But it sounds like, at least from what the picture you're painting, it's like the doctors are like, we're in this thing together.
Yeah.
Like, so like whatever it takes, like I hope that somebody over here has a different solution and it works. Like let's just like whatever is going to be best for this person.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always say, if to people that ask me about that, if a doctor has an issue with you getting a second opinion, that's not a very good doctor.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
The doctor is 100% first and foremost wants whatever's best for you, the patient.
For sure.
Not worried about like his or her ego.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not the business.
Yeah, hopefully not. Yeah.
The business of saving
Yeah.
lives.
Yeah.
So, it's very common, especially as like, now my cancer is a lot more aggressive. Like I'm trying things like clinical trials too, and not just kind of the standard path. It's much more common to have multiple doctors, and the doctors are happy to do that, especially because for clinical trials, like sometimes there's different ones offered oftentimes there's different ones offered at different cancer institutes or hospitals that are offered here at Roswell. And like Roswell has its own clinical trials and great stuff, but it's also amazing to me that like my doctor has a pulse on, what's happening at Dana-Farber, like what's happening at Memorial Sloan Kettering. Like I did just do a clinical trial at Dana-Farber in Boston, and he was able to kind of get me into that and suggest that and know about that, which is pretty cool.
That is really cool. How is, we always hear the term clinical trial. Mm-hmm. It's obviously a lot different when you're as a patient facing that. How is that presented to you? Can you talk about like the process to get into one, how it works, that type of thing?
Yeah. I think in general, like Roswell, besides all the millions of reasons that you hear about how wonderful every person is and how, all the things they do for our community, one of the reasons that I love Roswell so much is they are so research focused. And some of the research going on there, is cutting edge for the country, and they're always using like data to back why this treatment or why this move, or why whatever we're contemplating. And so with that comes a lot of doctors that are more excited about clinical trials because you can get access to something that might not be on the market for another 4 or 5 years.
Right, yeah.
So my doctor will kind of always present, here's what I suggest is the next best move for what he's able to prescribe, which has nothing to do with like insurance or because he's at Roswell and not a different hospital. It just means this is what the FDA has approved at this time. Now, one of the things that gives me hope in having such a scary disease like metastatic triple-negative breast cancer is that the landscape is constantly changing. Like, I feel like new drugs and new therapies are coming out like faster in the last 5 years than even when I was first diagnosed. And a lot of the treatments I've been on, like that's always the thing that amazes me. Like that drug Ibrance that I got 6 years out of, like that did not exist when I was very first diagnosed.
Oh, wow. That's not even like that much time in between.
Trial.
But still, like that's not even that much time in between.
No,
Yeah.
they wouldn't have prescribed that to me if it had metastasized like right away. So, and then same thing, like I've been on something now that didn't even exist like when I was on Ibrance. So that always kind of like gives me a lot of hope.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
It's just so fascinating. But back to your question about clinical trials. So you're able to get access to these drugs that maybe they wouldn't be able to prescribe to you because they're still being trialed. However, you have to remember, like, it's also still a trial. Like, it may never come out and be approved because it may not, it's not just you, like, it might not work for the whole population that's going through this type of breast cancer. So there's some risk to it in that part, and I think that's why a lot of people are hesitant. In my opinion, like, because I've tried a lot of different things lately, I've kind of jumped around to a lot of therapies, and we never really know what's going to work until I start it. So to me, that's kind of the same as a trial. So, like, if it sounds good and the reasons are compelling from the doctor, I'm willing to take that into consideration and learn more about it. And then if just like the standard drug that they're able to prescribe sounds better, like then I kind of think of it the same way. Like I don't think like, oh, but this is a trial, so.
Right, yeah. Yeah, you maintain such a positive attitude about it. Like, it's like, I mean, I know who you are as a person, so it doesn't surprise me. But it's a lot. I mean, like you said, you were just going back and forth to Boston, and you know, I'm pretty sure you guys had to pay your own way, like going there and staying in a hotel and like and then coming back and then, you know, all that kind of stuff. It's got to be taxing.
Yeah, that's definitely one thing that the doctors tell you, but you don't totally get till you're in it. Like the difference between a trial and a regular drug, besides the fact that it's a trial, means they need a lot of information from you.
Right.
So it's a lot more demanding of you physically and your time, and just like the amount of, like, every time I would get chemotherapy, I'd have to get like 3 or 4 different EKGs throughout, and like a blood draw like every hour, and just, you know, little things that don't sound like that big of a deal, but when you're there and it becomes like a 12-hour day.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah.
It really adds up to, it's a lot of extra stuff versus just kind of popping in and out and having your treatment.
Yeah, for sure. So, you know, you've gone through a lot of chemotherapy, and I'm always curious, like, can you walk through, like how does it make your body feel? Like, how, you know, does it hit you while you're in there? Is it the next day? Like, can you walk, like, I know there's like kind of like almost like a cycle to it.
Yeah. Each one is different, obviously, and each one is different with different people. I think the biggest thing is they all make you tired.
Yeah.
And especially after you've taken multiple of them. Like, I've been now in treatment since January. Yeah. So, yeah, that's going
that's a lot.
Kind of 10 months of treatment. So I'm a lot more tired now than I was.
I don't blame you.
And there's a difference between, like, cancer fatigue and actually being tired. And I feel like there's really no good way to describe that without feeling it. Like, when you're fatigued, it's just like every cell in your body is just like, stop now
Yeah.
must lay down.
Yeah.
Like, there's no, oh, I'll have a cup of coffee and like do a few more things. It's just like, no, you're just so exhausted. So that's, I would say, at least for me, that's always kind of the biggest thing, like just changing the amount of energy that I have in my day-to-day. Like that's a drastically different thing than beforehand.
For sure.
And then there's always some like GI stuff, like but they're really good now with all the different medications they can prescribe for that, or even like pre-meds you can get like with the chemo if they think it's going to cause that. So that really helps limit that. I've lost my hair, it started to grow back, but I think this other one, like, it's going to fall out again.
You ever heard, I think we talked about this like a while ago, the term chemo brain.
Yeah, I have that.
Like, is it like brain fog, or like how would you describe it?
It's kind of like brain fog. I think the biggest thing is just you blank on names.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like we could be talking and I would just say like can't think of the name.
Just can't grasp it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it'll come to me maybe a day or two later, but yeah, that's weird. Or just being like more forgetful. Like that's definitely a real thing.
Sure. So, we're sitting here and everyone is talking about Breast Cancer Awareness Month, right? But you've been on this journey and you've learned so much. I mean, and really the best way to get awareness is to talk to people like yourself. You can handle this question any way you want. Like, what do you think? Because I how do I say this the right way? Like, I think there's a deeper level of awareness that someone like yourself can bring to this disease than maybe you're going to see over the course of the next month, right? Or throughout this month. Like, what do you think are the biggest things, whether it's about metastatic breast cancer or anything that you wish either women or just the general population knew? Like, what comes to like top of mind?
Yeah, a couple things. First, I think it's like anything these days, like pay attention to where you're getting your news and your facts.
Oh yeah.
Like that's kind of always been the case, but now, more so than ever.
Yeah.
That's very important. There are definitely some companies or organizations out there that will just like stick a pink ribbon on something and say, portion goes to breast cancer awareness, and like, how much is the portion?
Yeah.
What percentage?
That's the thing with like charities in general, you gotta be super careful. Yeah.
And it's just like, and also, what is it going to, right? Like, awareness is super important, and having people screened so that we can catch these things earlier, because in general, the earlier you catch them, they're easier to treat. However, with metastatic breast cancer, like, you can do every single thing you're supposed to do, like I did the first time around. Like, I don't have metastatic breast cancer because I didn't get screened fast enough, or because I didn't get enough chemo the first time. And, in my opinion, the most important thing is research, and research to ongoing treatments, therapies, cures. Like, that's something that's going to keep me alive.
Have you learned through, like, you're a smart person, and like, I'm sure you've done a lot of your own research, and how could you not, right? Like, when you're dealing with something like this, is for anybody out there, like, where are the best places to go to like learn, like, hey, here's who's doing meaningful or impactful work or research that's going to make a big difference? Like, is there a way for people to like to dive in and to really look?
Yeah, and I would say the first step to that, which is super important, is make sure you really like and trust your doctor. If you have gotten the diagnosis, like, that's going to be one of the most important relationships that somebody has, like for pretty much, like I'll have this relationship with my oncologist for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Or if heaven forbid, not him, like another oncologist,
Yeah.
right? So there's nothing wrong with if you first get a doctor and you aren't feeling that, like speaking up and saying, no, like I want another opinion, or I want to find somebody else, or if the doctor isn't aligned with like the way that, you know, like I've always really trusted my doctors. So that's where I get my information first and foremost before like digging into the internet.
Hi, smart.
Use that maybe to better learn about stuff, but like after I first have gotten what does my doctor think first and foremost with like every new change.
Yeah.
So I think like just kind of advocating for that is super important. Another thing, I know this wasn't what you asked, but same thing goes with like, we kind of know our own bodies better than anyone else. It's like if something doesn't feel right, or you think something's off, or, you know, they're not seeing you enough, like speak up and say like that I want to be sure that this is correct.
I think that's great advice. You have to be your biggest advocate. Like, and sometimes that involves maybe being what you may conceive as pushy, but it's your body, it's, you know, your health. And sometimes, I mean, most medical professionals, right, like they have the best interests of their patients in mind, and there's other factors at play, but I think you have to push. Because like you said, like, you know your body yourself, like, you're the best. And like, whether it's with cancer or anything, like you have to be your own biggest advocate and have that voice for yourself.
Yeah. And then in terms of just like getting other information, you know, sometimes I ask the doctor, or, you know, I'll follow like obviously Roswell or then other things associated with my doctor, because I like that's where I'm getting the latest research information. I really like an organization called Metafiber, because that's all specifically geared towards metastatic.
Okay.
So a lot of just good statistics on there, and like ways to like support research that specifically goes towards stage 4.
Okay.
Another way is, I haven't so much in Buffalo, but like before when I was in New York, I was involved in a support group that was all specifically metastatic breast cancer patients, and I could quickly kind of identify like which of them were, you know, the ones that were the strong advocates for themselves and like doing the kind of research that I wanted to be doing. And so, you know, ask them and kind of connect in that way. Like the same as you would if you're going through anything. Like,
right.
Reach out to like-minded support.
I was going to ask you about that, about support groups, like whether they're in person here or online. I don't know. Like, I mean, or do you, I don't know if you're part of them here, or do you get, is it more like getting your support from friends and family members? How does that look in Buffalo?
Yeah. You know, I think also because I've been dealing with this disease for such a long time, so have my friends and family members.
Yeah.
So it's very sad that they have had to, but like for me, it's also a gift that they have, because there's so much that also like they've learned as well.
Right.
And know, so that's very helpful to me. I mean, I have a therapist I meet with pretty regularly, like even just over Zoom, and like that's very helpful. I'm particular in where I put my energy in terms of, like, I'll get appointment fatigue very easily.
I can imagine.
Because if I already have to go at least once a week for treatment, like I usually go back again just for fluids, because now, I'm not sure if I said this, but then after it spread to my lungs, it's also spread to my liver. So sometimes I just need like extra fluids.
Right.
Have the side effects of that. And also like too many appointments because like, no, I don't need that much support. But I'm also careful with, and this is a personal choice, but it's better for me to be in a support group with somebody else who's like, the other patients are also metastatic.
Right.
It's just such a different journey, or what exactly people are facing when someone has just become diagnosed and like I've already learned so much, or when they're wrapping up treatment and they get to go like ring the bell. Like I think that's so amazing, and I wish them nothing but celebratory thoughts on that, but like that's not within my path. Like I'm not going to get to go ring a bell. So
I get that. That makes sense.
More to people that are going through like what I'm going through.
As closely matched in the experience as you are.
Mm-hmm.
That makes a lot of sense, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think I asked you this a long time ago. I think I did. But either way, sometimes say you find out, and I know it's different for everybody, but like you find out your friend has cancer or your family member has cancer, coworker, whatever it is. I think people struggle to understand, like, how do I support this person the best? Like, should I talk about it with them? Should I just pretend it doesn't exist? Like, and I know everybody who's going through it probably, or maybe a lot of people would have different answers, but for you, like, what do you think is like, what would be your advice for like approaching, like, hey, when you find out somebody is going through something like this, like the best way to try to help them or support them?
Sure. Again, like if you know the person, you know how people are, like certain people are a lot more private. I think just kind of sharing that when you're there is a really great first step. And then don't just kind of say, I'm here for you, but then never ever follow up. Like even people just texting me to check in, just be like, hey, how's your day going? How are you? If I haven't heard from them in 2 months, like that really makes my day, or like just to hear from people versus they don't have to do a grand gesture or anything, like just kind of keeping me in their thoughts and checking in.
Yeah, I think like, I struggle with that sometimes. Like, I don't want to bother this person, or they probably don't want to hear from me. But I guess, like you said, it doesn't have to be some grand thing. It's just like, hey, what's up? How you doing? Yeah.
Yeah, and then if they're comfortable talking more, people always like want to do something. It's hard when, like, as the person being asked, especially if you're newly, something has just changed.
Right.
You're about to start a new treatment, or you got some kind of new information, and people say, I'm here, whatever, just tell me, whatever I can do for you. They're so well-meaning in saying that, but it's also like, oh my gosh, I'm trying to process all these things. I can't figure out what your task in helping me should be. Like, that's so nice that you said that, but I don't have an answer. So I think first just acknowledging and like having the person know that like you're in their thoughts. And some people may be very specific in what they have for an ask, and then others, like I've had friends that have just kind of taken it to organize like all the other people and say, like, what can I do, and then, like, they just take that, and whether it's checking in, sending a card, sending like a really thoughtful gift, like it doesn't have to be anything crazy, just like little things to like say, like, we've got you, or thinking about you. People also underestimate or just think like maybe it's not that glamorous as a gift, like the idea of practical stuff. Like, some of the best things I get are just like Wegmans or like DoorDash.
Yeah.
Cards, because there are some days when we aren't thinking about what are we going to make for dinner.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, so just anything like that, just to make the person's like day to day a little bit easier, because they're thinking and going through so much.
Yeah.
Like that's a really huge help, I think, to people if you don't know, like, what should I get them? What should I do?
Yeah, that's really good advice. What does your day-to-day look like now? Because I know you came back from Boston. What is treatment like now for you?
Yeah. Sorry. So now I'm on this combination immunotherapy and chemotherapy, which is kind of exciting because the immunotherapy is supposed to help, like, the chemotherapy, they'll work together as a team. And I go once a week for that. The first week I get both. The second week I get just the chemotherapy. And then the third week is like an off week, which is deceiving because it doesn't mean that you immediately feel better and like, move all your plans and like get to go, let's go out to dinner 5 nights this week. No, it means that's when my body like can come back to normal a little bit. And then within that too, like I usually have to go for fluid, another appointment. I'm big into things like massage or acupuncture or stuff like that like can also help with self-care. So I do make time for something like that, like every couple weeks. A lot of it is sleeping. Like,
Sleep's important, especially,
like
I can imagine.
The most. We were talking earlier about how it shifts your perspective and just kind of like how you see things differently. I think with this time around, the biggest thing it's shifted for me is just there's so many small moments that I enjoy or find like joy in. Like today was kind of the first like crisp day of fall because September has been so warm.
Yeah.
I needed a sweatshirt to sit on my porch and like have coffee, and just one of our trees was, the colored leaves are falling, and just like stare at that.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds like
no, it sounds good because like think about it, like it's terrible you're dealing with this. It's forced you to slow down and then gain perspective, where most of us are just like, you're just moving so fast and like just not appreciating all the things that you should, like, or just taking things for granted maybe.
Yeah, I'm a lot more present for sure.
And that's a huge problem that people have just in general these days with everything.
Yeah, and like with other people too.
Yeah.
Like when they come over, definitely. Like with Brad, we're much more present with each other. And at the very beginning, like probably in January, just because this has probably been the scariest change that I've had like throughout this whole time. It was a bit like carpe diem. Like, oh my gosh, like we have to do this, or I remember so random, but thinking about the Bills when they were in the playoffs and having these thoughts of what if this is the last Bills playoff game I ever watch? Like, it has to be absolutely perfect, and that's absolutely exhausting.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot go through every day like saying, this has to be the best night's dinner, this, whatever is coming up on the calendar next. Like, that is so exhausting. And you're also setting yourself up to be constantly disappointed.
Yeah.
Because you're just like, it has to be the best, it has to be the best. And I started to be able to shift that. Like, okay, let's not do this whole carpe diem. This is the last thing, but let's just slow down and kind of appreciate things more. And it definitely doesn't have to be the best. Like the coffee I had this morning and just sitting on my porch, like, sounds probably pretty boring to anybody else, but the being present has helped a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine. I don't think that sounds boring though, because I think having this conversation and like thinking about it, it's like, and there's some things that have happened in my life recently where I've gained new perspective, and it's very different, but it's like, it's sometimes these life moments, whether they're negative or positive, I mean, it's like, it's embracing them and then the new perspective you get, but I think then like not losing it, right? Because like, especially like it's easier with like positive, oh, this was great and I have this new perspective, now I'm going to forget about it and keep moving.
Right.
And it's like, no, like go back, like the little moments, like the joy you get out of that, I think is important. We just, like we were saying, like especially with like people are just not present. Cell phones, like everything else that's going on, and like that stuff's so important. It's almost like sometimes when you try to be present with somebody who's not used to it, it's almost like they feel awkward that you're being so present. And it's like, no, it's how it's supposed to be. Like we're human beings, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I would say too, whoever it is, like my support system, and like we've done a pretty good job of, even if it's, you know, a crappy day of like having to do a lot of appointments or sit through like a bunch of chemo, of having there be kind of some moments that are nice. Like if we have to hear, you know, a day of like, you know, we're getting scan results, like Brett will take me for pancakes.
That's awesome.
And just like find the pancakes kind of a thing.
What was your favorite pancake spot in Buffalo?
Probably Swan Street Diner.
Oh yeah, they're unbelievable. Yeah, they're so good.
And they're pretty close to Roswell too. So
yeah, it's a good point.
Out nicely.
That place is amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they're so good.
You know, rounding things out, like, are there any things that you're talking to like the Buffalo community, or you know, your friends are going to hear this, you know, family members and just other people who just want to hear about the journey, or like, again, in the quote unquote spirit of like raising awareness for, you know, breast cancer, metastatic breast cancer, anything else that you think people should know or that you want to, you know, kind of like comment on? It's a really open-ended question.
I know, and we covered so much. I mean, I always want my support system and friends and family and doctors and nurses and everyone to just constantly hear thank you from me. There's so much that they do, and, you know, little things or, you know, day-to-day stuff that Brett will do that just seems small, but like to me in that moment like means the world. So I can never say enough thank yous to all the people out there that know me and know what I'm going through and have helped. To the larger community, I would say definitely want to kind of leave them with that thought of like be your own advocate in all the things, like with those first steps of like, do I need to get this checked out, with definitely with any type of doctor or healthcare professional as you're figuring that out. Like that's a really important relationship, and that needs to work for you, and you need to be able to trust that person, you know, with everything, and be able to ask any kind of question, even with friends and stuff, or like support people. Like they're, you know, not as much lately, and probably also because I've grown a decade too, so I have that. But in the very beginning, like there were some people, and how would they, right? Like how many people do you know that are 30 that are getting diagnosed with cancer? So some people just like had no idea what to say or how to handle it, and that's fine. That like I don't expect that from everybody, but immediately kind of identifying like maybe this isn't going to be the friend that's going to help the most over the next couple weeks or months or whatever. That's okay, but like you have to kind of honor what you need and put yourself first, and that's not selfish. That's just like prioritizing what you need to do to get through this diagnosis.
Yeah, I mean, this is awesome. I mean, I'm sure everybody in your support group knows how thankful you are, but it's nice you mention it. And I want to thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. You know, it's great to hear from somebody who's going through what you're doing and has your perspective. And I think a lot of people will get a lot out of this. And so I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. It's been truly an honor to come.
Oh, stop it.
And thank you for wearing your pink.
Yep, I got it.
Part of the Real Men Wear Pink campaign.
Yeah,
it's
you
really
know.
Amazing.
Yeah, no, it's. I remember we had talked about that a while back. You know, look, it's doing everything you can to raise awareness to help. I mean, using a quote unquote platform like this, you know, it's been cool. Like, as you know, by the time this episode airs with Dr. Cappuccino and Kimberly LaRussa, and, you know, it's just cool to hear everybody's perspective and their story. So glad we could round it out with you. It's been perfect.
Thank you, John.
Thanks. Thanks for listening to Angles. If this episode made you think, smile, or see something in a new way, follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Leave a review and share it with friends. You can also follow us on social media. Angles is produced by Brett Tuttle. I'm John Richmond. See you next time.